Have you ever been so close to finishing a massive project, something that has consumed your life for months, only to find that the closer you get to the finish line, the louder the distractions become?
Oh, absolutely. It's the 99% rule. The last 1% takes as much energy as the first 99. But usually, my distractions are just emails or fatigue. I'm not dealing with assassination plots.
Right. And that is exactly where we find ourselves today. We are looking at the climax of Nehemiah's great building project. The wall is physically built. The gaps are closed, but the doors aren't hung yet. And suddenly, the enemies we've been tracking, Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem, they change their strategy entirely.
It's a fascinating pivot. For chapters, they've used mockery, threats of war, and physical intimidation. But here in chapter 6, they switch to diplomacy, or at least what looks like diplomacy.
It's the classic let's do lunch trap.
Exactly. Sambala and Geshem send a message to Nehemiah saying, "Come, let's meet together in the villages in the plain of Ono." It sounds reasonable, doesn't it? Let's talk this out.
But Nehemiah isn't buying it.
Not for a second. He knows they intend to harm him, but I love his response. He doesn't say, "I know you want to kill me." He says, "I am doing a great work so that I cannot come down."
That is such a powerful statement of priority. I am doing a great work. It's not just an excuse, it's a definition of his reality. Why should the work cease just to entertain a conversation that goes nowhere?
And the persistence of the enemy is terrifying. They sent this message 4 times. Imagine the pressure. 4 times you have to say no to people who could technically start a war with you. But then, the 5th time, the tactic changes again.
The open letter.
The ancient equivalent of a viral social media post or a leaked memo. Sambala sends a servant with an unsealed letter. That's crucial. Unsealed. It means anyone could read it on the way. It wasn't private correspondence, it was a rumor bomb.
And the content is pure conspiracy theory. It is reported among the nations that you intend to rebel.
Notice the phrasing. It is reported. Passive voice, no sources, just people are saying. They accuse Nehemiah of building the wall just so he can crown himself king of Judah. It's a charge of treason against Persia. If that rumor gets back to King Artaxerxes, Nehemiah is dead.
It's psychological warfare. They are trying to terrorize him into a meeting to clear his name. If he goes, they kill him. If he doesn't go, the rumor spreads.
Precisely. It's a catch-22. But Nehemiah's response is brutally short. There are no such things done as you say, but you imagine them out of your own heart. He calls it what it is, fiction. And then he prays. Now strengthen my hands. He doesn't panic. He doubles down on the work.
But the attacks don't stop at the political level. They get personal. They get spiritual. This part actually gave me chills. The betrayal by Shemaiah.
This is the insider threat. Nehemiah goes to the house of a man named Shemaiah who is shut in. We don't know why. Maybe ritual uncleanness. Maybe he's faking illness. But he acts like a prophet. He tells Nehemiah, "Run to the temple. Let's lock the doors. They are coming to kill you tonight."
If someone tells you there's a hitman coming for you tonight, your instinct is to run to safety. And the temple is the safest place imaginable.
But it was a trap designed to ruin Nehemiah's moral authority. First, Nehemiah wasn't a priest. He wasn't allowed into the sanctuary. If he entered, he'd be breaking God's law. Second, for the governor to hide in a temple out of fear, it would look like cowardice.
It would destroy the morale of the people. Our leader is hiding.
Exactly. And Nehemiah spots it. He asks, "Should a man like me flee?" He realized God didn't send Shemaiah. Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. Think about that corruption. A prophet for hire, weaponizing religious language to make a leader sin.
It shows how deep the rot went. It wasn't just enemies outside the wall. It was the nobles and prophets inside who were on Tobiah's payroll.
And yet, despite the spies, the rumors, the assassination, plots, and the internal betrayal, the text gives us a stunning statistic. The wall was finished in 52 days.
52 days. That is less than 2 months to rebuild the defenses of a major city. That seems impossible.
It seemed impossible to the enemies too. When the surrounding nations heard it was done, they lost their confidence. They realized this wasn't just human effort, this was God. The psychological tables turned completely. The intimidators became the intimidated.
So the wall is done. The hardware is installed. But Chapter 7 marks a massive shift. We go from construction to, well, administration.
It's the shift from building to guarding. A wall is useless if the gates are left open. Nehemiah appoints gatekeepers, singers, and Levites, and he puts his brother Hanani and a man named Hananiah in charge of Jerusalem.
I noticed the qualification for Hananiah. It doesn't say he was a great strategist or a brilliant architect. It says he was a faithful man and feared God above many.
Character over competence, or rather, character is the competence required for this job. Nehemiah knew that the biggest threat to Jerusalem wasn't a lack of bricks, it was a lack of integrity. He needed someone who wouldn't take a bribe from Tobiah.
And then Nehemiah notes something interesting about the city itself. The walls are huge, but the city is empty. The houses aren't built yet.
It's a shell, a protected shell, but a shell. And this leads to what might be the most misunderstood part of this text. Nehemiah decides to take a census. He gathers the nobles and the people to reckon them by genealogy, and we get a list, a very, very long list.
I think many readers interpret this as the skippable part. It's page after page of names, numbers, families, and towns. Why is this here? Why does Nehemiah care so much about a dusty old record of who came back from Babylon years ago?
Because a wall doesn't make a city, people make a city. This list is the answer to the question, who are we? Nehemiah finds the register of the first returnees, the pioneers who came back with Zerubbabel. He is connecting the current generation to their heritage.
It's establishing legitimacy.
It is, but look at the details. It's not just a list of elites. It counts the men of specific towns, Bethlehem, Anathoth, Jericho. It counts the priests, the Levites, the singers, and the gatekeepers. It even lists the temple servants and the descendants of Solomon's servants.
It feels like a roll call of the faithful. These are the people who didn't stay comfortable in Babylon. They chose the ruins.
Exactly, and there's a tragic little subplot in there too. There's a group, the children of Deliah, Tobiah, and Nekoda, who came up but they couldn't prove their father's house. They couldn't prove they were Israelites.
And some priests, too. They searched for their records but couldn't find them.
And the consequences were real. They were disqualified from the priesthood. It sounds harsh to modern ears, but in a theocracy where the purity of the temple was the center of national survival, you couldn't just identify as a priest. You had to have the lineage. It underlines how precious that identity was. If you lost your connection to the past, you lost your role in the future.
The chapter ends with a tally of the whole assembly, 42,360 people, plus servants and singers. And then, the giving.
Yes, the offering. The heads of the households gave, the governor gave, the people gave. Gold, silver, priestly garments. It shows that this community wasn't just present, they were invested. They were putting their treasure where their heart was.
It paints a picture of a society that is finally settling down. The last verse says, "All Israel lived in their cities." It feels like a deep exhale after the tension of the assassination plots.
It is an exhale, but it's also a realization. Nehemiah started by worrying about stones and timber. He ends by worrying about families, genealogies, and purity. He realizes that the physical security, the wall, was just a means to an end. The end goal was to create a safe space where the people of God could be the people of God.
That's a profound distinction. The wall creates the space. The genealogy defines the life within the space.
Precisely, and I think that's the takeaway for us. We often focus on the walls of our lives, our careers, our savings, our physical security. We work so hard to build them, just like Nehemiah, and that's good. We need walls, but if we finish the wall and realize the city inside is empty, or we don't know who we are, or we've lost our history, then what was the point of the wall?
We become a fortress guarding nothing.
Right. Nehemiah fought off Sanballat, ignored the open letters, and escaped the false prophets so that he could stand in a secure city and read a list of names. That list was the treasure he was protecting.
It really changes how you view those boring chapters of the Bible. It's not just data, it's evidence of life.
It's the proof that despite the exile, despite the destruction, the people survived. The lineage continued.
So, as we wrap up, we've seen leadership that refuses to be distracted. We've seen the discernment to spot a fake friend. And we've seen the importance of knowing who is actually inside the walls with you.
And perhaps the most important lesson, finish what you start. Don't let the noise stop the work. But once it's finished, remember that the structure exists to serve the people, not the other way around.
A powerful place to stop. The wall is built. The people are counted. But as anyone who knows this story realizes, the challenges of living inside the wall are just beginning.
The external threat is gone, but the internal challenges are next.
We'll have to save that for next time. Thank you for listening.
See you then. If you have been blessed by this, please like, subscribe, and share this joy with others. God bless.